Hello friends and welcome to this episode on the topic of writing. Writing can be considered as the most significant intellectual feat that has been done by the human beings. We are the only one on this earth to be able to communicate and preserve information in shape of written scripts. Now this has given us an intellectual edge which is increasing its value and reach by every day. Earlier we used to write on stone, then came paper, which really revolutionized the information dissemination, and now in the age of digital technology, you can publish on the move with the help of multimedia devices and even from your phone. Writing has enabled us to record a huge data of information. We know it very well that oral communication and our memory have limited functions. For example, even this lecture, which you are listening now, would evaporate from your memory like a dream, but the script provided along with will be always there for you to revisit any information you want out of it. Writing is like storing information in a pen drive or a hard drive and using it whenever it is required. Writing is immortal. Shakespeare has long gone, but in terms of literature and drama, he still reigns supreme. Writing is a representation of language in terms of alphabets and syntax. It is different from illustrations, graphic art and cave drawings. Writing most likely began as a consequence of political expansion in the ancient culture, which needed reliable means for transmitting information, maintaining financial accounts, keeping historical records and similar activities. Around the 4th millennium BC, the complexity of trade and administration in Mesopotamia outgrew human memory, and writing became a more dependable method of recording and presenting transactions in a permanent form. In both ancient Egypt and Mesoamerica, writing may have evolved through calendric and a political necessity for recording historical and environmental events. The oldest known use of writing in China was in divination in the royal court. Writing became widespread after invention of paper in China in the early 2nd century AD. Writing is basically an inscription of defined and preset characters on a medium like paper, forming words, sentences, paragraphs and larger units of language known as text. Writing is not language, means they are not interchangeable. Language is a system which allows us to make or understand utterances, and writing involves making an utterance tangible and visible. Although writing is different from language, it has close relationship with language. Now let us come to writing systems. Writing system can be defined as an organized method which is standardized for storing information and communication in a language by using visual or tactile encoding and decoding, which means writing and reading respectively with a set of graphic symbols which are called characters. Writing systems can be explained into different categories such as alphabets, syllabaries and logographies. The alphabet category has a set of symbols or graphemes of consonants and vowels which are used for encoding based on the principle that the letter represent the phonemes of spoken language. A syllabary connects a symbol to a syllable. Now, syllable can be defined as a group of phonemes which are considered as building blocks of words and sentences. In logography, a character represents a word, morpheme or a semantic unit. We also have abjads in which vowels are not indicated, and abugidas, which are also known as alpha syllabaries in which vowels are represented by diacritics. Alphabets usually have a set of 20 to 40 symbols to encode a language. A syllabary can have 80 to 100 symbols, and logography can have several hundreds of symbols. A writing system has a method for encoding information that will follow the language, grammar and syntax to preserve the intended meaning of message with a high degree of accuracy. Now, grapheme is a base unit of writing system. It is a contrastive unit in writing system parallel to phoneme or morpheme. For example, there is a grapheme B in English language which contrasts with other graphemes such as X, P, R, A, T, L. The collection of graphemes for segmental units in English, that is for consonants and vowels, is known as the English alphabet. Each grapheme in language is different from others and it has to contrast with other graphemes. An individual grapheme is represented in a variety of ways and each variation is visually distinct in some regard. These individual variations are known as allograph of a grapheme. For example, we can distinguish cursive and printed letters as classes of allographs. In the same way, we can also distinguish uppercase and lowercase letters. There is no definite record of the invention of writing, but almost all writing systems have a clear imprint of being influenced by other writing systems. Of course, there are some exceptions like Chinese. The Mesopotamian writing influenced the Egyptians to develop writing system for their language. The Egyptians influenced the Semitic language system. The Greek language is heavily influenced by the Semitic system. The Greek alphabet influenced Etruscans in Italy, and the alphabets were borrowed by Romans for writing Latin. The Roman alphabet has been used to construct hundreds of languages around the world. We can safely say that all writing systems originated from Chinese or Semitic writing system. All writing has a linear organization in which symbols follow each other in a particular order. Some languages are written in horizontal lines of symbols which might be from left to right, as in case of English, or right to left, as in case of Hebrew or Arabic. Chinese is traditionally written vertically. Writing systems are distinguished from other possible symbolic communication systems in that a writing system is always associated with at least a spoken language. In contrast, visual representations such as drawings, paintings and non-verbal items on maps such as contour lines are not language related. Some symbols on information signs such as symbols for male and female are also not language related, but can grow to become part of the language if they are often used in conjunction with other language elements. Some other symbols such as numerals and ampersand are not directly linked to any specific language, but are often used in writing and thus must be considered part of writing systems. Every human community possesses language, which many regard as an innate and defining condition of mankind. However, the development of writing systems and the process by which they have supplanted traditional oral systems of communication have been sporadic, uneven and slow. Once established, writing systems generally change more slowly than their spoken counterparts. Thus, they often preserve features and expressions which are no longer current in the spoken language. One of the great benefits of writing systems is that they can preserve a permanent record of information expressed in a language. All writing systems require at least one set of defined based elements or symbols, individually termed characters and collectively called a script. At least one set of rules and conventions, that is orthography, understood and shared by a community, which assigns meaning to the base elements, that is graphemes, their ordering and relations to one another. at least one language which is generally spoken, whose constructions are represented and can be recalled by the interpretation of these elements and rules. Some physical means of distinctly representing the symbols by application to a permanent or semi-permanent medium, so they may be interpreted usually visually, but tactile systems have also been devised. Perhaps the primary graphic distinction made in classifications is that of linearity. Linear writing systems are those in which the characters are composed of lines, such as Latin alphabet and Chinese characters. Chinese characters are considered linear whether they are written with a ballpoint pen or a calligraphic brush or cast in bronze. Similarly, Egyptians' hieroglyphs and Maya glyphs were often painted in linear outline form, but in formal context they were carved in bas relief. The earliest example of writing are linear. The Sumerian script in 3300 BC was linear, though its cuneiform descendants were not. Non-linear systems, on the other hand, such as Braille, are not composed of lines, no matter what instrument is used to write them. Cuneiform was probably the earliest non-linear writing. Its glyphs were formed by pressing the ends of a reed stylus into moist clay, not by tracing lines in the clay with the stylus as had been done previously. The result was a radical transformation of the appearance of the script. Braille is a nonlinear adaptation of the Latin alphabet that completely abandoned the Latin forms. The letters are composed of raised bumps on the writing substrate, which can be leather, which was Louis Braille's original material. It can be stiff plastic, paper or metal. There are also transient nonlinear adaptations of the Latin alphabet, including Morse code, the manual alphabets of various sign languages, and semaphore, in which flags or bars are positioned at prescribed angles. However, if writing is defined as a potentially permanent means of recording information, then these systems do not qualify as writing at all, since the symbols disappear as soon as they are used. Scripts are also graphically characterized by the direction in which they are written. Egyptian hieroglyphs were written either left to right or right to left, with the animal and human glyphs turned to face the beginning of the line. The early alphabet could be written in multiple directions: horizontally, that is left to right or right to left, or vertically, that is up or down. It was commonly written boustrophodonically, that is starting in one, that is horizontal direction, and then turning at the end of the line and reversing direction. The Greek alphabet and its successors settled on a left to right pattern from the top to bottom of the page. Other scripts such as Arabic and Hebrew came to be written right to left. Scripts that incorporate Chinese characters have traditionally been written vertically, that is top to bottom, from right to left of the page, but nowadays are frequently written left to right, top to bottom due to Western influence and a growing need to accommodate terms in the Latin script and technical limitation in popular electronic document formats. The old Uyghur alphabet and its descendants are unique in being written top to bottom, left to right. This direction originated from an ancestral Semitic direction by rotating the page 90° counterclockwise to conform to the appearance of vertical Chinese writing. Several scripts used in Philippines and Indonesia, such as Hanuno, are traditionally written with lines moving away from the writer from bottom to top, but are read horizontally left to right. Some languages are written with a mixture of systems. Japanese, for example, has different kinds of writing. It uses characters borrowed from Chinese as well as two further types of writing known as kana, in which each symbol represents a mora, that is a consonant vowel sequence or a consonant at the end of a syllable. Japanese writing is normally a mixture of these systems. Some words are normally written with characters, some with kana, and many with a mixture of characters and kana. The writer must know which type of symbol is appropriate for a given word. In English, we use the Roman alphabet, but its relationship to the phonemes of English is not simple. For example, the vowel I is written variously, as in meet, meat, siege, conceive, city, spaghetti. By the same token, the written sequence OUGH can be pronounced quite differently, as in the words tough, cuff, though, and through. Clearly, English spelling is related to phonology, but the relationship is complex and strongly shaped by lexical and morphic considerations. From these examples, we can see that the relationships between language and writing is not necessarily simple or consistent. The relationship of the language and the writing system of Finnish is unusually simple, but the corresponding relationship for Japanese is extremely complex. Although Finnish and English both use the same Roman alphabet, they do so in different ways. The spelling rules of Finnish and English are quite different. Similarly, Japanese and Chinese both use Chinese characters in the writing, but the rules for using characters to write the two languages are quite different. In our study of writing system, we might assume that there is a simple one-to-one relationship between written symbols and language. For example, that a writing system has a distinct symbol for each phoneme, and that these symbols are used to write utterances. In such a situation, an automatic conversion would in principle be possible between writing and language. Anyone who has learned to write English, however, is more than aware that this situation does not hold for English. We need only consider such pairs as one and one with exactly the same pronunciation and very different spelling to confirm this. There are, to be sure, some writing systems which are fairly regular, but none is perfect. We have talked about the writing systems, we have seen how it has evolved, and in this short explanation, I have tried to give you an idea of how writing originated and how it evolved through the ages, and we talked a bit about its structure. I hope this interaction was of some use to you. Thank you so much for listening.